A sergeant down, a canine German shepherd. Facing the impossible, what happened that night was more than just heroism, it was a true miracle. Sergeant Logan Carter always knew he could count on Titan, his fiercely loyal K9 German shepherd, but on that freezing night during a high-risk police mission, Logan was left bleeding out in a dark alley, his strength fading with every second. No backup in sight, no way to call for help. Just Titan, his K9 German shepherd, standing over him, eyes burning with determination. The mission had gone terribly wrong, but Titan refused to give up. What the dog did next left the entire force speechless. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. That way you'll never miss another inspiring story like this one. The cold wind cut through the dark alleyways of downtown Chicago, carrying the distant echoes of sirens. Sergeant Logan Carter moved swiftly, his heartbeat steady despite the high-risk operation unfolding around him. Beside him, his canine German shepherd Titan padded silently, his sharp eyes scanning every shadow. This was supposed to be a routine drug bust, a takedown of one of the city's most dangerous gangs, but something felt off. Logan's radio crackled. Unit 4, do you have eyes on the target? He pressed the button on his shoulder. Negative, we're moving in. Titan let out a low growl, ears twitching. The dog sensed something before Logan did. A fraction of a second later, a gunshot tore through the silence. Pain exploded in Logan's chest as he stumbled backward, his vision blurring. He had been hit. Titan snapped into action. The canine German shepherd barked ferociously, standing over Logan as if daring anyone to come closer. Logan struggled to stay conscious. His vest had taken part of the impact, but the bullet had pierced just below his ribs. Blood seeped through his uniform, and he could barely keep his gun steady. The radio crackled again. Carter, report. Carter, but Logan couldn't respond. His hands trembled, and his strength was fading fast. The alley felt colder, darker, quieter. Titan WH and nudged his handler, sensing the urgency of the moment. The dog's instinct told him that Logan didn't have much time. Backup wasn't coming fast enough. If Titan didn't act, Logan would die right there in that alley. Titan made his decision with one last glance at Logan. The canine German shepherd bolted into the darkness, his powerful legs carrying him toward the only hope left, the station, or anyone who could help. Would he make it in time? Titan ran like never before, his powerful legs pounded against the pavement, his breath coming in short, determined bursts. His mind was set on only one thing: saving Logan. The cold air bit into his thick fur, but he barely noticed. Every second that passed was a second closer to losing his handler. The streets of downtown Chicago were nearly empty at this hour, dimly lit by flickering street lights. Titan moved like a shadow, dodging trash bins, leaping over puddles, and cutting through alleys. His ears twitched at every sound, but nothing mattered except finding help. Then a familiar scent: Officer Daniel Briggs, Logan's closest teammate. Titan's sharp nose caught his presence nearby. Without hesitation, he turned and sprinted toward him. Briggs had just stepped out of his patrol car, radio in Hand checking in with dispatch he wasn't. Expecting what happened next a blur of heartbroken whine. He had done his part. But now all he could do was wait there. Doors closed, the sirens screamed, the ambulance disappeared into the night. Briggs knelt down and ran a hand over Titan's fur. "You did good, boy," he murmured. "Better than good." Titan blinked his chest, rising and falling with slow, steady breaths, but his eyes never left the direction of the ambulance. He wasn't just Logan's partner, he was his protector, and he wasn't leaving his side. The hospital lights flickered above as the stretcher rolled through the emergency room doors. Logan's face was pale, his breathing shallow. The medical team moved fast, shouting vitals and instructions as they rushed him toward surgery. Outside, Titan paced restlessly. His nails clicked against the hospital's tile floor as he kept his eyes locked on the doors where Logan had disappeared. He didn't understand why he couldn't follow. He had never left Logan's side before. Officer Daniel Briggs sat on a plastic chair near the waiting room, watching Titan with concern. The canine German shepherd's body was tense, ears flicking at every distant sound. Every time a nurse or doctor walked past, Titan's head snapped up, his eyes full of desperate hope. But no one brought Logan back. "Easy, boy," Briggs murmured, reaching out to stroke Titan's thick fur hews. In good hands. Titan whined softly, pressing his nose against the floor where Logan's scent lingered. The smell of blood and antiseptic filled his nostrils. Something inside him twisted. Logan wasn't safe yet. Minutes dragged into hours. Finally the door swung open. A doctor approached, pulling down his mask. "Sergeant Carter's out of surgery. The bullet did significant damage, but he's stable for now. He's being moved to ICU." Briggs exhaled in relief. "Can we see him?" The doctor hesitated, glancing at Titan the dog. "He stays." Briggs' tone left no room for argument. Titan's his partner. "He won't leave until Logan wakes up." The doctor sighed but nodded. "All right, just keep him calm." Titan didn't need permission. As soon as Briggs opened the door, the canine German shepherd bolted down the hallway, nose to the air, following Logan's scent. Inside the dimly lit ICU room, Logan lay unconscious, hooked to machines, an oxygen mask over his face. His chest rose and fell with slow, measured breaths. Too slow, too weak. Titan jumped onto the side of the hospital bed, his front paws resting near Logan's arm. He sniffed carefully, then let out a deep, low whine. His handler smelled different, faint, fragile. "Logan," Briggs said softly, sitting beside him, "you got a stubborn partner here, you know that." Titan didn't move. He just lowered his head onto Logan's arm, his eyes never leaving his handler's face. The beeping of the monitors filled the silence. Briggs leaned back in his chair. "Guess we're waiting now, huh, buddy?" Titan didn't respond. He just stayed there, unmoving, waiting, watching, refusing to leave. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the dimly lit hospital room. The sterile scent of antiseptic and medication filled the air, but Titan barely noticed. His large paws rested firmly against the hospital bed, his head lowered onto Logan's arm. The canine German shepherd hadn't moved since they arrived, his watchful eyes locked onto his handler's motionless face. Briggs sat nearby, sipping from a cup of now cold coffee. The exhaustion weighed on him, but Titan was unshakable. The dog had refused to rest, refused to eat, and refused to leave. Logan's side the nurse had tried to coax him away once. Titan had growled, not aggressively, but in warning. He wouldn't abandon Logan, not now, not ever. Briggs had chuckled, shaking his head. You're a damn good partner, boy. Titan barely flicked an ear in acknowledgement. His mind was elsewhere, waiting, watching, protecting. Inside the darkness Logan drifted. There was no pain here, only silence. It was like floating in an ocean, with no waves, no sky, no horizon. He could hear voices, distant and distorted, but none of them were clear enough to reach him. Then something familiar, a sound, a whine, low, deep. Titan Logan tried to move, but his body didn't respond. He was trapped in the void. The voices were louder now, but he still couldn't understand them. He felt like he was sinking further and further, his strength slipping away. A memory flashed. Titan, a rookie, canine, barely a year old, staring at him with eager brown eyes, waiting for his first command. Logan had reached out, ruffled his fur, and smiled. We're going to be the best damn team out there, buddy. Another memory, a late night patrol, the streets empty. Titan trotting beside him, ever vigilant. The first time Titan saved his life, taking down a suspect before the guy could stab Logan in the back. And then the alley, the gunshot, pain, blood, darkness. A sharp whimper pulled him back. Logan tried again. He fought against the weight pushing through the fog, clouding his mind. He wasn't alone. Titan was waiting for him with a force of will he didn't know. He had left Logan, opened his eyes. Briggs nearly dropped his coffee. Titan's ears shot up as Logan's fingers twitched. The heart monitor's beeps changed rhythm. His breathing shifted. Briggs was on his feet in an instant. Logan, hey Logan, can you hear me? Logan's eyelids fluttered. His throat moved as he swallowed, his chest rising in a slow but steady breath. Titan let out a sharp, high-pitched bark. Logan's lips barely moved, but the whisper came. Titan. Briggs exhaled a relieved laugh. Damn right, Titan, he never left your side. Titan nudged Logan's arm, his tail giving the slightest wag. His handler was alive. Logan blinked up at him, his voice horror. Saved me again, huh? Inside the dimly lit ICU room, Logan lay unconscious, hooked to machines, an oxygen mask over his face. His chest rose and fell with slow, measured breaths. Too slow, too weak. Titan jumped onto the side of the hospital bed, his front paws resting near Logan's arm. He sniffed carefully, then let out a deep, low whine. His handler smelled different, faint, fragile. Logan, Briggs said softly, sitting beside him, you got a stubborn partner here, you know that. Titan didn't move. He just lowered his head onto Logan's arm, his eyes never leaving his handler's face. The beeping of the monitors filled the silence. Briggs leaned back in his chair. Guess we're waiting now, her buddy. Titan didn't respond. He just stayed there, unmoving, waiting, watching, refusing to leave. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the dimly lit hospital room. The sterile scent of antiseptic and medication filled the air, but Titan barely noticed. His large paws rested firmly against the hospital bed, his head lowered onto Logan's arm. The canine German shepherd hadn't moved since they arrived, his watchful eyes locked onto his handlers motionless. Face Briggs sat nearby sipping from a cup of now cold coffee. The exhaustion weighed on him, but Titan was unshakable. The dog had refused to rest, refused to eat, and refused to leave. Logan sighed. The nurse had tried to coax him away once. Titan had growled, not aggressively, but in warning. He wouldn't abandon Logan, not now, not ever. Briggs had chuckled, shaking his head. You're a damn good partner, boy. Titan barely flicked an ear in acknowledgement. His mind was elsewhere, waiting, watching, protecting. Inside the darkness Logan drifted. There was no pain here, only silence. It was like floating in an ocean, with no waves, no sky, no horizon. He could hear voices, distant and distorted, but none of them were clear enough to reach him. Then something familiar, a sound, a whine, low, deep. Titan Logan tried to move, but his body didn't respond. He was trapped in the void. The voices were louder now, but he still couldn't understand them. He felt like he was sinking further and further, his strength slipping away. A memory flashed. Titan, a rookie, canine, barely a year old, staring at him with eager brown eyes, waiting for his first command. Logan had reached out, ruffled his fur, and smiled. We're going to be the best damn team out there, buddy. Another memory, a late night patrol, the streets empty. Titan trotting beside him, ever vigilant. The first time Titan saved his life, taking down a suspect before the guy could stab Logan in the back. And then the alley, the gunshot, pain, blood, darkness. A sharp whimper pulled him back. Logan tried again. He fought against the weight pushing through the fog, clouding his mind. He wasn't alone. Titan was waiting for him with a force of will he didn't know he had left. Logan opened his eyes. Briggs nearly dropped his coffee. Titan's ears shot up as Logan's fingers twitched. The heart monitor's beeps changed rhythm. His breathing shifted. Briggs was on his feet in an instant. Logan, hey Logan, can you hear me? Logan's eyelids fluttered. His throat moved as he swallowed, his chest rising in a slow but steady breath. Titan let out a sharp, high-pitched bark. Logan's lips barely moved, but the whisper came. Titan. Briggs exhaled a relieved laugh. Damn right, Titan, he never left your side. Titan nudged Logan's arm, his tail giving the slightest wag. His handler was alive. Logan blinked up at him, his voice horror. Saved me again, huh, buddy? Titan licked his hand. Brig smirked, yeah, and dragged my ass through half the city to do it. Logan gave the smallest chuckle, a weak sound, but it was life. He turned his head just slightly, meeting Titan's eyes. The unbreakable bond between them didn't need words. Titan had done the impossible. He had brought Logan back. Over the next few days, Logan slowly regained his strength. The bullet had torn through muscle, but thankfully missed major organs. The doctor said it was a miracle he survived. Logan had a different opinion. It wasn't a miracle, it was Titan. The canine German shepherd never left his side, not even when Logan was moved to a private recovery room. Officers from the precinct came to visit, but it was Titan who kept Logan grounded. One night Logan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The pain had faded to a dull ache, but something deeper lingered inside him. I should have seen it coming. Titan lifted his head at the sound of Logan's voice. Briggs, who had been half dozing in the chair, raised an eyebrow what Logan exhaled his jaw. Tightening the shooter, I should have known something was off, I let my guard down. Briggs sat forward. Logan, don't do that, you're one of the best. And Titan, he knew he got to you in time. Logan looked down at Titan, running a hand over his fur. Yeah, he did. Titan leaned into the touch, his warm brown eyes never leaving Logan's face. Don't make this your fault, Brig said. You're here, you made it. And Titan, he smirked. Well, I think he just earned Officer of the Year. Logan chuckled softly. Damn right he did. Titan wagged his tail. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beeping of the heart monitor and the occasional rustle of the blanket as Logan Carter shifted in bed. It had been 3 days since he woke up, and though the worst was over, the pain still lingered both physically and mentally. Titan remained by his side, never leaving the room. The canine German shepherd barely slept, always keeping a watchful eye on his handler. It was as if he knew Logan was still fighting a battle within himself. Briggs leaned against the door frame, sipping from yet another cup of stale hospital coffee. His gaze flicked between Logan and Titan. You look like hell, Briggs said. Logan smirked weakly. Feel worse, Briggs exhaled, stepping into the room. The precinct's been asking about you. Everyone's ready to throw a damn parade for Titan here. He motioned toward the dog, whose ears perked at the sound of his name. They want to put him in for an award. Logan reached out, scratching behind Titan's ears. The dog let out a soft huff of approval, but didn't move from his post. He doesn't care about awards, Logan murmured. He just cares that I'm still breathing. Briggs sat down, rubbing a hand over his face. Yeah, well, we all do. The weight in his voice made Logan pause. Briggs was there that night. He had seen the blood, the way life had almost slipped away in that dark alley. Logan sighed. How bad was it? Briggs hesitated, then leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. If Titan hadn't gotten to me in time, you wouldn't be here. The truth hit like a hammer. Logan already knew it, but hearing it from someone else made it real. That night Logan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The painkillers dulled the ache in his ribs, but nothing could quiet the storm in his mind. He kept replaying the moment in the alley, the gunshot, the darkness, the feeling of helplessness. Titan, as if sensing his distress, lifted his head from where he rested beside the bed. His brown eyes locked onto Logan's, filled with an understanding that no words could express. You knew, Logan murmured, reaching out to run his fingers through Titan's thick fur. You felt it before I did. Titan didn't move, just let out a quiet whine. Logan exhaled slowly. I should have listened to you. Titan nudged his hand as if trying to push away the guilt. Logan chuckled softly. You really don't let me sulk, do you? Titan licked his hand once, then rested his head on Logan's arm. Briggs had said Logan shouldn't blame himself. The rational side of agreed, but the part of him that had been lying on the cold pavement, bleeding out, struggling to breathe, that part wasn't so sure. The next morning the doctor came in to check on him. Your recovery is going well, she said, flipping through his chart. If everything continues improving, you'll be able to leave in a few more days. Logan nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. The moment the doctor left, he turned to Briggs, who had just walked in with fresh Coffee, I need to get back out there. Logan said. Briggs blinked. What I need to get back on duty as soon as I'm cleared. Briggs let out a dry laugh. You got shot less than a week ago. You need to rest. Logan shook his head. I can't just sit here. The longer I'm away, the harder it'll be to go back. Briggs studied him for a long moment, then sighed. I get it, but don't rush this, man. Your body needs time. Logan glanced down at Titan, who was watching him intently. So does my head. Briggs didn't argue. He just handed Logan the coffee and sat beside him. Titan let out a deep breath and curled up at Logan's side. He wasn't just Logan's partner, he was his protector, and when the time came, he would be ready to stand by his side again. Logan Carter sat on the edge of his hospital bed, rolling his shoulders, slowly testing his movement. The stitches still pulled at his skin, but the pain had dulled into something manageable. The doctor said he needed at least another week before considering light activity, but Logan had never been good at sitting still. Titan sat in front of him, his deep brown eyes watching every movement with the same sharp focus he used on the job. He knew something was coming. Briggs stood by the door, arms crossed. You sure you want to do this? Logan glanced at him. I have to. With a deep breath, he pressed his feet to the cold tile floor and stood. The moment he wobbled, Titan was there, pressing his sturdy body against Logan's leg, offering silent support. Logan reached down, gripping the thick fur at Titan's neck, grounding himself. Briggs watched the exchange, shaking his head. You or something else? Logan smirked. Yeah, well, he's stubborn. Titan huffed, as if agreeing. The first few steps were slow. Logan felt every shift in his body, every lingering ache, but Titan walked beside him, perfectly in sync, just like always. It wasn't just about physical recovery. It was about trust. The last time Logan had been on his feet, he had been bleeding out in an alley. The last time he had walked, it had nearly been his last. Now each step forward felt like a silent promise. When they reached the door, Briggs held it open. You ready to see the outside world again? Logan exhaled. Yeah, Leighton, do this. Titan stepped out first, ears up, tail steady. His partner was walking again. That meant only one thing: soon they would be back where they belonged, together. Logan Carter took his first steps outside the hospital, feeling the crisp Chicago air hit his skin. It wasn't the biting cold of the night he had been shot, but the chill still sent a reminder through his body. Titan stayed close, his body pressed lightly against Logan's leg, his movements precise. The canine German Shepherd was more than a service dog, he was Logan anchor. Every step Logan took, Titan matched it, ready to steady him if needed. Briggs walked beside them, eyeing Logan carefully. You sure about this? Logan let out a slow breath. I need to feel normal again. Normal, that word felt distant, almost foreign after everything that had happened. He wasn't just recovering from a gunshot wound, he was recovering from the feeling of helplessness. Lying in that alley, bleeding, unable to move, had shaken something deep inside him. He had always been the one in control, the one protecting others, but that night he had been powerless. If not for Titan, he wouldn't be here. Titan seemed to sense Logan's thoughts because he nosed his hand, gently drawing him out of his head. Briggs sighed. All right, Leighton. take it slow, no sudden movements, and if you feel like you're going to fall, No, Logan, interrupted Titan's got me. Briggs smirked. Damn right he does. They walked down the hospital's front steps, moving toward the parking lot. Logan's squad car had been recovered after the shooting, and he was determined to get back into it, even if he wasn't cleared for duty yet. When they reached the vehicle, Logan stopped. His reflection in the driver's side window stared back at him. He looked different, tired, worn, changed. Titan sat at his side, waiting. Briggs watched him carefully. Logan, you don't have to rush this, Logan agreed. The door handle I do. With a deep breath he opened the door. The familiar scent of the car leather, old coffee, and Titan's fur greeted him. He hesitated only for a second before he slid into the driver's seat. His ribs protested, the stitches pulling slightly, but he ignored it. Titan jumped into the passenger seat, his usual spot, and for the first time since the shooting, Logan felt like himself again. His hands rested on the steering wheel, fingers tracing the grooves. Briggs leaned against the open door. You're not driving yet, Logan chuckled, shaking his head. I know. Titan let out a soft huff, as if agreeing with Briggs. They sat in silence for a moment. Logan closed his eyes, listening to the familiar sound of Titan breathing beside him. It was grounding. It reminded him of every late-night patrol, every stakeout, every foot chase where Titan had been right there, never leaving his side. Briggs tapped the roof of the car. All right, you got your moment. Let's get you back inside before your doctor chews my ass out. Logan opened his eyes, nodding yes. Slowly he stepped out of the car. Titan jumped out right after him, keeping pace as Logan made his way back toward the hospital entrance. He still had time before he could officially return to duty, but this was the first step back to who he was. As they entered the hospital lobby, a few nurses stopped to watch. Some of them had been there the night Logan was brought in, unconscious and barely breathing. Seeing him walking with Titan at his side brought smiles and whispers. One of them, a young nurse named Emily, stepped forward. Sergeant Carter, it's good to see you up and moving. Logan gave a small nod. Feels good to be moving. Emily smiled down at Titan. And you, Titan, you're famous around here, you know that. Titan wagged his tail once, but kept his usual serious expression. Emily chuckled. I guess you don't let fame get to your head, huh? Briggs grinned. Nah, Hune's too professional for that. They continued down the hallway, making their way back to Logan's room, but just as Logan was about to step inside, the captain walked in. Captain Reynolds was a seasoned officer, his face lined with years of hard work and stress. He had been on the force long before Logan, and his presence commanded respect. Logan straightened automatically. Oh, why? Captain Reynolds studied him for a moment, then glanced at Titan. Heard you've been up and walking. Yes, Sir. Logan said. The captain nodded. Good, because as soon as you're cleared, I want you and Titan back on duty. Logan blinked. You're not putting me on desk duty, Reynolds scoffed. Carter, I know you. If I stick you behind a desk, you'll go see crazy. You belong in the field with him. He nodded toward Titan. The department needs officers like you, and Titan's already proven he's worth more than half the force combined. Briggs smirked. I'd say more than half. Reynolds ignored him. I won't rush you. but when you're ready your spot is waiting. Logan felt something unclench in his chest. He hadn't realized how much he had needed to hear that. "Thank you, sir," he said. Sincerely, Reynolds gave him a curt nod before turning to leave, but just before he stepped out he added, "Oh, and Carter. Yes, sir, you might want to stop by the mayor's office when you're back. Apparently Titan's getting some kind of metal." Briggs let out a low whistle. "Damn. You hear that, boy? You're getting an award." Titan wagged his tail slightly, but his eyes never left Logan. The captain left and Briggs turned to Logan. "Well, looks like you're not the only one who's a hero." Logan exhaled, rubbing Titan's head. "HK always been a hero." Titan leaned into the touch, his warm brown eyes filled with something deeper than loyalty. Understanding Logan wasn't fully healed, yet he still had a long way to go. But one thing was certain: when he was ready, Titan would be there leading him back where they belonged together. The days passed slowly, each one bringing Logan Carter closer to full recovery. The hospital staff had stopped treating him like a fragile patient and more like the cop he had always been, but no one watched him more closely than Titan. The canine German shepherd remained by his side, his sharp eyes tracking every movement, every shift in Logan's breathing. He never let Logan out of his sight, not even for a moment. Briggs showed up every morning with fresh coffee and updates from the precinct. The gang responsible for the ambush was being hunted down, and the streets were buzzing with talk about Titan heroism. "You should see the press coverage," Briggs had said, scrolling through his phone. "Everyone wants an interview with the dog who saved his partner's life." Logan had chuckled, glancing at Titan. "You ready for stardom, buddy?" Titan had simply blinked, unimpressed. Rest fame didn't interest him, only Logan did. By the end of the week the doctors finally gave Logan the news he had been waiting for: healing. Well, Dr. Patel told him, "You still need physical therapy, and I don't want you straining yourself, but you're cleared to go home." Home, the word settled in Logan's chest, both comforting and unfamiliar. He hadn't been home since the night of the shooting. Briggs clapped him on the shoulder. "Guess that means I'm your chauffeur today." Logan smirked. "Better than taking a cab." Titan's ears perked up, sensing the shift in mood. He could feel it. His handler was going home. The drive back was quiet, the weight of the past weeks settling over Logan. He had nearly died if Titan hadn't acted. If Briggs hadn't arrived in time, he wouldn't be sitting in the passenger seat watching the city blur past the window. Titan sat in the back seat, but his head was between the front seats, his eyes never leaving Logan. When they pulled up to Logan's house, Briggs put the car in park. "You good?" Logan exhaled slowly. "Yeah, the house looked exactly the same, yet something about it felt different." He stepped out of the car, his legs still a little stiff, but Titan was at his side, instantly matching his pace. As soon as Logan opened the door, Titan pushed past him, sniffing every inch of the house, checking for danger. He circled back to Logan, satisfied, and let out a soft huff, as if saying, "It's safe, you're home." Briggs leaned against the door frame. "You need anything?" Logan shook his head. "I think I just need some time." Briggs nodded. "All right, but if you need anything, call me." With that, Briggs left, and Logan was alone with Titan for the first time in weeks he could breathe. Titan nudged his leg, and Logan smiled, dropping to one knee to wrap his arms around the dog. "We made it, buddy." Titan licked his cheek. They were home together. Logan stood outside of the precinct, breathing in the crisp morning air. Titan sat beside him, ears up, eyes locked onto his handler. Today was the day. Logan placed a hand on Titan's head, ready to get back out there. Partner. Titan wagged his tail once, his answer clear as they stepped inside. Officers clapped, nodding in respect. Logan was back, and with Titan by his side he was unstoppable. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who loves inspiring stories like this one. Stay tuned for more incredible tales of loyalty and courage.